Hello everyone! Last week we did the first part of Vereesa's story, talking about her youth, meeting up with Ronin, partying with dragons, working on her lovely little family. Within Dalaran, the Blood Elves rejoined the Kirin Tor, and in response, Vereesa formed the Silver Covenant to keep an eye on the so-called Sunreavers. With Warchief Garrosh Hellscream placed in charge of the Hordes, her distrust of the Blood Elves would be proven right. Since Garrosh, he had no plans of continuing Warchief Thrall's attempts at peace and working together. He saw the world as one to be rightfully claimed by the Horde and any who had the strength to stand with them. Their first target was gonna be Fedamore, home to Jaina Proudmoore. Slowly but surely, the Horde moved out of Orgrimmar, ready for their war. An approach that did not go unnoticed, which gave Jaina the time to gather the support of some of the finest that the Alliance had to offer. Even Ronin, Vereesa and the Kirin Tor decided to help out. Not an easy decision to be made, as the Kirin Tor, especially with the addition of the Blood Elves, they wanted to keep a neutral stance. Yet at the same time, not assisting Jaina against such tremendous opposition, it would technically be to support the Hordes. At least, that's the logic Ava's Sunreaver used, who cast the deciding votes. It was their hope of merely being present that the Horde would turn around and seize their assault. But that was not what Garrosh had in mind. Quite the opposite, in fact. He forcefully held his troops back to give Jaina enough time to gather their forces. Then they pretended like Fedamore was going to be claimed by might of arms and might of numbers. During their assault upon the Isle, Talon Sunweaver, a Sunreaver Horde loyalist, they showed their true colors by weakening the gates. You might remember saving him during the Fedamore destroyed in-game scenario. Still, Fedamore, they held their ground, repelled the attack, or so they thought. Up in the sky, doom approached. The Horde had stolen a powerful magical artifact, which was called the Focusing Iris, and transformed it into a huge mana bomb. There was nothing any of them could do to stop it from unleashing its devastation, and all of them were going to be wiped out. Even those far away from Fedamore, like Vereesa, on the hunt for Sunweaver. Her husband Ronan knew that he only had one option: draw in the mana bomb upon himself, upon the town steeped in magic, so he could contain the blast as much as they could. At first, Jaina refused to leave his side. This was her city. She should be the one to give up her life for it, not Ronin. He had a family that was going to need him, but the leader of the Kirin Tor wouldn't be persuaded. He knew that Jaina was the future of Dalaran, so while keeping their escape portal open, while drawing in a bomb onto himself, he also pushed her through. She shouted in protest. She tried to tug herself free and craned her neck to look back, just in time to see hell. The world went absolutely white. The tower shattered. Ronin's body, standing tall, arms outstretched as he glared defiantly at his fate, turned suddenly purple. He was frozen in time for a fraction of a heartbeat. Then he exploded in a cloud of lavender ash. As the portal whirled close and Jaina was dragged further and further away, she saw a violet ocean of arcane energy wash over Fedamore. Cries of utter, absolute, depthless terror assaulted her ears. And then she knew no more. Ronin's sacrifice saved his beloved's life, leaving her behind with their 2 children, now fatherless, and a massive chasm where her heart used to be. Jaina survived as well, returned to her city, and then claimed the Focusing Iris as her own. On a quest for bloody revenge, she visited Dalaran again to ask for their aid. Not in defense this time, but for a full-on assault against those that had wiped Fedamore from the map. Vereesa was there, asking Jaina what she intended to say to the Kirin Tor. Her face an implacable mask, but eyes that burned with righteous fury. Jaina told her, blurted out that Ronin cared about 2 things when he died: making sure his love would survive, and that Jaina would get to safety. She filled in the gaps of what Vereesa didn't see. How Ronin used his magic to draw the bomb onto him, to save as many as he could. Vereesa, I don't understand why he chose me. Fedamore was my city. I should have died for it. But he was the one who died. And I will not forget that. Not as long as I draw breath. And I will do all that I can to be worthy of his sacrifice. I was there, Vereesa. I know what they did. And I will urge the council to make sure the Horde is never, ever in so powerful a position again. that no one else has to suffer as we have. Vereesa's lips curved into a trembling smile. And the next thing the mage knew, the two women were hugging each other tightly, and Jaina felt warm tears against her neck. But her request to the Kirin Tor, it was denied. Aphis takes full responsibility for the harm done by one of his own Sunreavers, but attacking Orgrimmar was not the answer. More voices tried to persuade Jaina to let go of this hatred, this lust for vengeance, but she wouldn't listen. Ultimately, she took it upon herself to use the focusing iris, create a massive tidal wave that would wash out all of Orgrimmar. Thanks to Thrall and Caligos, she decided not to go through with the plan. Instead, she focused her hatred upon the one that was responsible, Garrosh Hellscream himself. The Warchief of the Horde was given a sound defeat at the hands of Jaina and the Alliance. Now the reason why Ronin was so hell-bent on saving her life, that was because of a prophecy from his old friend Kresis. A prophecy that foretold that she would be the new leader of the Kirin Tor. Sapphire to diamond she gleams now, the Kirin Tor leader who comes. Queen of a kingdom now fallen, marching to war's martial drums. She did accept the position, but also told them that she didn't believe to be ever truly neutral towards the Horde again. A problem for the future. As for today, they were saying farewell to Ronin. Vereesa's children were there, one on each side of their mother. Identical twin boys with their father's flame-red hair and their mother's eyes and slender build. Jaina had learned that they recently celebrated their birthday. She was glad that at least Ronin had lived long enough to share that with them. Jiramar, the elder by a few moments, seemed a bit more stoic than his brother, Jaladin, whose lower lip quivered, though both pairs of half-elven eyes glittered with unshed tears. Their mother wore not her familiar armor, but a gown. Some were surprised to see that the garb was not black, nor even very conservative. Vereesa Windrunner was a proud and beautiful woman, and her marriage to the hot-tempered but good-natured archmage had been full of passion and devotion. It was his vibrant life she now chose to celebrate, not the ending of it. And so she was clad in a flowing red dress, more appropriate to a ballroom than a funeral. Her eyes were dry. Vereesa had already done her mourning. Jaina's heart both ached for her and swelled with admiration. Ronin's sons, though lacking a father, had a mother who would raise them well.
Be careful who you trust.
And so, the Kirin Tor moved into new leadership. Tensions high between the Alliance and the Horde, the Silver Covenant and the Sunreavers. But our Warchief Garrosh, he thought that he was thinking too small so far. Next time, he was gonna go bigger. More death and destruction. And wouldn't you know it, a brand new land revealed itself. A land full of troops, resources and hidden powers that they could use to claim the world in the name of the Horde. One of those powerful artifacts, it was called the Divine Bell. In the days of Leishen the Thunder King, the sounds emanating from it would fuel his warriors' hatred and anger, granting them strength on the field of battle. Quite the upgrade for the Warchief soldiers. So, it was something that the Alliance, and even some amongst the Horde now, were not too happy to be in the hands of Garrosh. While Anduin's request to have the full support of Dalaran against the Horde was first denied, Jaina, still trying to set an example for the world, showed them that peace between the factions was indeed possible. That quickly changed when Garrosh forced the Sunreavers to abuse their position within the Kirin Tor and steal the Divine Bell that had been found and was hidden away.
You have it all wrong, Jaina. I did nothing.
You looked the other way. You and your insubordinate kind are no longer welcome here.
This is our city too, Proudmoore.
To once again be betrayed by Aphis and the Sunreavers. It was a step too far. The leader of the Kirin Tor decided that it was time for them to get out. And of course, Vereesa, she was all on board with this plan. She hadn't trusted the Sunreavers from the very beginning, and time had not changed her mind. This purge of Dalaran was bloody and hostile. The Silver Covenant picking up arms, imprisoning those that surrendered, and slaying those that did not. But that didn't solve the Divine Bell problem. Luckily, Prince Anduin Rin and Heroes of the World, they found a way to stop the Warchief's plans. Soon after, Leishen himself made a return at the Isle of Thunder, a threat that could not be ignored. Lorthmar Faran and Jaina Proudmoore, they led their forces to the Isle. Step by step, they fought against the Thunder King's forces, claiming more and more of the Isle of Thunder, while also trying to take each other out, as there was no love left between them. Ultimately, they came face to face. With a bit of Pandaren wisdom, it pushed them to focus on the real threats.
Hand over the Archmage, and I may yet allow you to walk out of here, Lorthamar!
Proudmoore! You will release my people from the Violet Hold, or I will cut you down myself!
Your people are legitimate prisoners of war! They orchestrated an attack on Darnassus, from my city!
The Sunreavers knew nothing of Garrosh's raid on Darnassus!
Enough! There will be no more bloodshed today! I see now why your alliance and your horde cannot stop fighting. Every reprisal is itself an act of aggression, and every act of aggression triggers immediate reprisal.
They have
must protect
undermined
my sovereign
every
people.
attempt at peace!
Silence! You must break the cycle! It ends today. Here, the cycle ends when you, Regent Lord, and you, Lady Proudmoore, turn from one another and walk away.
Rangers, lower your weapons.
My lord!
Very well. We will stand down.
They killed my husband.
This won't bring him back.
Step away and focus on the real threats. Warchief Garrosh Hellscream, taking on during the Siege of Orgrimmar, in which we kicked him out of the Mantle of Warchief, but didn't take his life. Instead, they decided to place him on trial. The orc responsible for taking her husband away. Even if there was the slightest chance of them letting him walk away with his life, Vereesa couldn't let them. At the trial, she came face to face with her sister again, Sylvanas, the first time they'd seen each other in years. A perfect partner for what Vereesa had in mind. She made contact with the Banshee Queen by sending over a package containing a necklace given to her by Illyria. It also came with a note, written in an elegant handwriting, which simply said, "Once we were on the same side, perhaps we can be again." Two of the Windrunner sisters reunited with a shared goal in mind, ending Garrosh's life. At first, Sylvanas is hesitant to sign up with this plan of poisoning the former Warchief, but Vereesa told her, "They took our baby brother from us, Sylvanas. And you know, Illyria would have fought anyone for the honor of dispatching Garrosh herself. She would want us to do this." All true, but still not the real reason. Sylvanas could sense it, instead of the fire and fury she expected. All Sylvanas saw was water, tears filling Vereesa's eyes and spilling down her face. She did not even bother to wipe them away as she spoke. "He took my Ronin. That was all. That was everything." Sylvanas stepped forward and embraced her sister, and Vereesa clung to her like the drowning woman she was. "I will not betray you, sister. We have suffered enough losses." Sylvanas realized as she spoke them that the words were true. It was unexpected, and even more so that, while scheming, planning their murder, Sylvanas started to feel the Queen of the Forsaken desperately wanted to keep Vereesa around. And after all was said and done, it wasn't exactly like she could go back to regular life. The Alliance would have no place for her anymore, so what about joining her within the Undercity? Rule by her side, reshape the Horde to their own image. Of course, the Undercity wouldn't respond too well to a living being, but it wouldn't be as bad as when Sylvanas was turned. Vereesa would merely go to sleep and awaken beautifully transformed, reborn with insight and ambition that one who breathed could never fathom. She was so far lost in her grief and a lust for vengeance that Vereesa actually went along with this, only taking a moment to ponder the fate of her two boys. But naturally, the Undercity is no place for two children to grow up in. Sylvanas might have taken them into Undeath as well, if it meant for her sister to be at her side, but that wasn't going to be necessary. They were better off where they were, and Vereesa thinks that she hasn't been the best of mothers to them anyways. So their plans continued, the poison was provided. Sylvanas could already see the both of them hanging out in the Undercity. Vereesa found a perfect opportunity to strike, sending a literal last meal to Garrosh. But then her thoughts turned to her beautiful boys. She had not thought of them, not really, in a long time. First, she had to deal with the Sunreavers and Lorfamar, then the Siege of Orgrimmar, then the trial. She had barely spent any time with them within the recent years. Not even right after. They were beautiful, with Ronin's red hair and her eyes. Giramar, eldest only by a few moments, and Galadin. Vereesa suddenly realized how much she had missed their laughter. How wild they both used to be, but kind-hearted. Her boys, and their father would be so proud of how bravely. She tried to picture them in the Undercity, and couldn't. Where would they run and play and laugh? How could they learn anything about life in the City of the Dead? And then she runs into Anduin, believing the light to be at work here. Quickly, the words tumbled out of her mouth before fear and hatred closed her lips. I surrender my choice to you. Garrosh's food is poisoned. Do with the knowledge what you will. Without waiting for an answer, she raced down the corridor, leaving the choice of letting Garrosh live or die within the hands of a 15-year-old. A little while later, as she was back in Dalaran with her warm, lovely, living children, a messenger arrived. He lives. I will not make 2 children, both fatherless and motherless. What you do now is your choice. But that still left Sylvanas utterly crushed and devastated. The pain, it was unbearable. It was the same phantom agony that she had experienced over the last several days, when she had felt so happy with Vereesa. Except now, even the joy that had accompanied the pain was gone, and there was nothing left but torment. Little moon. Sylvanas fell to her knees, buried her face in her hands and wept. Wept like a broken child who had lost everything. Everything. Little moon. Gradually, the sobbing ceased, and the familiar peace of coldness drove out the heated hurting. Sylvanas rose, licking blood from her lips. She should have known. The pain she had felt at first, when she dared foolishly permit herself to hope for something different from what she had now, to feel something for another, to feel love again. It had been a warning that she was no longer made for feelings such as hope, or love, or trust, or joy. These things were for the living. These things were for the weak. Calm now, through tears and slaughter, she remounted her horse. Sylvanas Windrunner, the Banshee Queen of the Forsaken, would never again make the mistake of believing she could love.
How rude, sister.
And yet, she did always keep a bit of a soft spot for her sisters, but we'll get to that in just a moment. First, Vereesa had to deal with yet another invasion from the Burning Legion. This time, the biggest one the world had ever seen. The Expansion Legion played out, where heroes of the world formed their order halls, picked up mighty artifacts in the war against the Legion. Marksmanship hunters out there, they were called in by Vereesa to help her with a very special mission.
My eldest sister, Alleria, has been missing for years. A demon we captured claims she is being held on a Legion world called Niskara by some sort of inquisition. Her return would be invaluable.
Admit it, Vereesa. This mission is personal.
Alleria's knowledge about the Legion could help us defeat them once and for all. Our goal is to reacquire a strategic asset. Nothing more.
Even Horde hunters went through this quest, seeing how she had witnessed their deeds firsthand and had seen them fight for Azeroth time and time again. Regardless of their faction, all hunters were welcome to come along to Niskara on the hunt for Vereesa Windrunner. And while she was on the planet at some point, she is no longer present.
By the light. There! It's her bow! Thasdora! Alleria was here. Her bow's presence is the proof. Doubtless she escaped and the Inquisitor sought to use me to lure her back. Thasdora began as my family's legacy, but now this weapon has a greater purpose. This is a bow worthy of a hero like Alleria. A hero like you. Take Thasdora, champion. Use it to lead the fight to save Azeroth.
And under our leadership, Vereesa and her rangers, they joined the Hunter Order Hall, the unseen path in the war against the Legion, aided in taking on Hakar the Houndmaster. worked together with the Night Elves, the Blood Elves, and the Nightborn in the Rebellion of Suramar. Vereesa was right there at the gates of the Nighthold, still not trusting the Blood Elves, wondering why they're working together, but few things bring together an army better than a common enemy. This push into the Nighthold was unsuccessful, as Elisand unleashed their might over time and froze our forces into place. A better display of time gating there will never be again. But in time, we managed to free them, find a way inside. Although she didn't really show up during the raid itself, I do wonder if Vereesa was supposed to play a part in any of these fights, as she does have a very small cameo in the final cutscene. Regardless, Suramar was liberated, and even the tomb of Garrosh was conquered. Meanwhile, more hints and quests were dropped, aiming at the long-awaited return of her sister Illyria and Terrellian. Remember how they had stepped through the Dark Portal to take the battle to the Horde? They've been lost ever since. Even when we did the same with the Burning Crusade, they were nowhere to be found. Turns out that they have joined the Army of the Light, spending millennia fighting against the darkness in the Great Dark Beyond. When heroes of Azeroth left their planet behind to take the battle to Argus, home base of the Legion, Vereesa and Arator, they finally reunited. Not a whole lot of time spare for a cozy family reunion, considering that we were fighting the Legion after all, but there was enough time to catch up. Especially the part about how their now undead sister is leading the Horde.
Impossible! I refuse to believe she now leads the Horde. Not after all they did to our people during the war. There's more. I'm not sure how to explain the rest. Or if this is even the time or place to... I must know, Vereesa. What fate befell our sister? Give me a moment. I will do my best to explain.
After imprisoning Sargeras and returning back home, a Windrunner reunion that fans have been waiting for was finally going to happen. All three sisters had now returned to Azeroth, but none were the same as when they said goodbye. Illyria had become infused with the void, constantly hearing its whispers. Sylvanas is a banshee, and unknown to all, allied to the jailer. Vereesa, well... Vereesa didn't get a power-up like the other two did, but she did lose her husband. Neither of them were there when she needed them. They both let her think that they were dead. Do you even know what they did to me? You were my heroes. We have all lost so much. Must we lose everything again? Ultimately, it becomes clear to them that their family is broken. Too much time, too many things have happened to simply return to the path, the family that they once knew. There are two cool parts about the comic that really stand out, which, first of all, Vereesa, she gets a chance to apologize to Sylvanas for being such a coward. She had asked her to stay in the Undercity, and Vereesa had said yes, to then change her mind and only send a letter to refuse. That must have hurt you. Whatever has passed between us, and whatever will, I am sorry. I hope one day you can forgive me. With those words, they left their undead sister behind, and only to us is it shown that Sylvanas actually had an ambush waiting. She plays it off as, in the end, they will all serve death, they will all serve me. But if anything or anyone can make Sylvanas feel something again, it would be her sisters. I personally think that it was Vereesa stepping up to her cowardice that made her change her mind about the coming attack. The youngest Windrunner sister was allowed to go home and hug her children another day. But that didn't stop Sylvanas from pushing forward with her plans, of course. Allied to the jailer, she has used the position of Warchief to push the Alliance and the Horde into a massive war. Many casualties on both sides, fueling her plots behind the scenes. Until ultimately the factions, they once again realize that working together is a far better option. They made ready, including the Windrunner sisters, to confront Warchief Sylvanas, but that confrontation never really happens. Instead, a one-on-one duel exposed her to the rest of the Horde, moving her to leave everything behind, go into the next stage of her plans, shatter the sky above Icecrown, and kick off the expansion Shadowlands. So far, we've seen Illyria take front and center when it comes to the Dark Lady, but Vereesa hasn't really shown up yet. Of course, the story of the Shadowlands, it still needs to play out, and has started its focus more on the Shadowlands rather than the factions. I do wonder when, if at all, Vereesa is going to play a part in the confrontation with Sylvanas. I would personally find it a real shame if they don't use this moment to have all the Windrunners meet up in-game. Imagine a fight in which Sylvanas uses the dead to her advantage, use the shade of Lirav or Ronin to twist her sister's minds. At the same time, maybe a more emotional approach would be better. If there's anything out there that could persuade Sylvanas, it would be your family. Little Moon speaking with Lady Moon, but time is going to tell what the future might hold for Vereesa. When it comes to the Windrunner sisters, she is definitely a Peggy. There's a lot of potential that they could work with, rather than having her as a side character to a Ronin or a Jaina or a Sylvanas. Vereesa is a badass on her own, amazing in combat, has dealt with dragons and magic and even her own family. In the books, she is pretty cool, but in-game, she deserves so much more. I hope to see some really cool story for her and her 2 children. But for now, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Really hope you enjoyed the story of Vereesa. If you did, make sure to leave a like. You could also subscribe. And until next time, see ya!